But yeah, no, this was perfect timing because I've been wanting to get back into reading gross shit. And like on paper, it's like, you hear about licking tampons or squishing beetles beneath your feet, and it's like, pass. But I I was gripped, and the more fucked up it got, the more I was just like, let's go.
Let's go. Thank you. No, I always love hearing that. Like, because for me, it's like when you write a book, you're just like, fuck, I hope people read this. Like, I spent like 5 years on this, so hearing nice
Mhm.
things feels good. So,
How much did it change? Because I feel like you were talking about this book a while back, and I remember when maybe one of the first times you and I spoke about it, just like in passing or whatever, well, like what you were working on or whatever. I think did she work, or maybe I misinterpreted, but maybe she worked at like a fast food restaurant or something. That's how I took it. And then she's like at a chicken factory. I was like, oh shit.
no, I don't think, no, she never worked at a fast food restaurant, but she did like maybe eat a lot of fast food. I don't remember the fast food. There was like a fast food scene in there still, I think. But like, so the ending was always the same. Like I always knew like how I always knew where I was gonna like end up with it. But what changed the most was like the daddy character, and his job, and then like his interests, like all the bug fetish stuff was like it was during COVID, and I just like had, when you like get that eureka moment, like the strike of lightning where you're like, I gotta add
Hmm.
this to the book. Like that's what happened. And so then I went and I just did a draft where I just focused on that like as a plot line through it. I don't know why. I just was like, I need to do this.
No, I love that like level of detail to like that specificity on something so fucking weird. It reminded me of like how Polinick would always have like his earlier books, and maybe it's I haven't read Polinick in a while, but like they always had this super specific weird thing that the protagonist or somebody would do that you're like,
Hmm.
who does that? Like like the obsession with steroids and Survivor, or like the
Hmm.
um what fight all of Fight Club, everything they do in that book.
Yeah,
But
and in Choke, it's like literally he's obsessed with being saved by people,
yeah,
like for choking, Yeah,
yeah. And this
yeah,
dude's like really obsessed with bugs that
yeah.
like I was glad wasn't a weird metaphor or something, that was really what was going on. Because she is a pseudo unreliable narrator. So it's like, is this actually happen? But it's like, no, this dude really has
It's
bugs.
it's not a dream.
I like the daddy character's monologue in there. I think that Deliver Me is not a political book, but I think you really captured the nonsensical nature of people's political opinions. Like his thing about liberals, it like doesn't really track, Like
Mm,
he seems like he's just talking, like things
mm,
that he's heard. And I was like, that's where so many people are right now, is really passionate and sure of themselves when they have no fucking idea what they're talking about. That was one of
mm,
my favorite bits from the book. There's only a couple of pages, I think, but he's like so condescending about it too. It's like,
mm.
oh, well, if you were to understand the way that, but it's like, it's different. It seems like it's different ideologies too. It just didn't seem like he really knows anything except his bugs and and
And
honey, I
his
think at one point.
yeah,
Like,
and his like
yeah.
crime facts because
Oh,
he's like
right. The
obsessed
serial
with
killer
the
facts. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah. Yeah, the serial killer thing is really interesting. I never got into serial killers, but there definitely seems to be people are fascinated by them. I guess it's pretty self-explanatory why, because they kill people.
yeah,
But yeah, that's always been really strange to me. I'm just always like, is this entertaining? Whenever I hear Rios like listening to she'll put on some podcast that she's listening to, and the most soothing, beautiful, dulcet toned Australian man will be talking about like a guy who like cuts women's heads off and like fucks the throat. You know what I mean? And I'm like, this
Yeah.
is really, what are you getting out of this? And she's like, I don't know. It's just great.
Oh my God, I love that. That's so funny. I know
Mhm.
I'm fascinated by, so I was never like super obsessed with like the serial killer like thing, but I got really into true crime through JCS, criminal psychology on YouTube, where this guy like, or maybe it's a team of people, I don't know. They just do interrogation videos and then they kind of like break down like what's happening in the video and stuff like that. And I found that really fascinating because it's kind of like this deeper psychological look that's not filled with like the fluff of things. And also it doesn't like panic button. Like there's no moral panic about like death or or murdering, like they did one on Casey Anthony that was like really fascinating. Like it's just information about the case. And then from it I was like, oh, I have my like I'm like me puzzling things out. I'm like, I have my own ideas about what happened or whatever. Like that part's fun. um but I am interested in serial killers like mentally though, but I can't like whenever I watch the shows about them I feel like they're too like, yeah, like you're watching like what is it, like 2020 Dateline or something like that, you know what I mean? I don't like that part of it. Yeah.
Yeah, or the ones that try to dramatize it, but it's like overly like
Yeah, yeah.
it's
Like you're like, there's
almost
no
it's like
story here.
no, it's
Yeah.
always like softcore porn. There's always that scene that's like, oh, all right, here we go. It looks like a 90s grunge video, and it's just like some chick in her bra, and always a gothic couple or something. And
That's so funny. But yeah.
I, I'm curious about where this book came from. Oh, so for listeners, we're talking about Deliver Me. It's a new book. We have Elle Nash on the show. Thank you for coming on the show.
Hello, thanks
Um,
for having me.
of
return
course, of
guest
course.
star.
Yep, yep. Third time, I think. This is
I
number
can't
three, right?
remember.
I
I
think this
did,
is the second
I think it's the second
time.
one. Talked about
Oh,
Perfect
right.
Blue. But
Yeah.
I've been on
Yeah.
your, but I was on your other podcast before.
Oh,
The
okay.
other
Okay.
one.
Right. Second time agitator guest then. And Deliver Me is actually, you know what? I'll let you describe it. How would you describe the book?
Me?
Yep.
Okay, so it's about so there's this woman and she is on like like she had a miscarriage, like she said like 8 miscarriages and she's desperate to have a baby. She lives in the Ozarks, works at a chicken factory, and she is really trying to escape the like fundamentalist religious past that she comes from, but at the same time she's still like really reaching for this traditional family value ideal, right, of like being a mother. It's like the only thing she wants. And so that's the story. And her like ex best friend slash first ever teenage crush moves back into town, and so she kind of is faced with like the competition of that, and it ends up all going horribly, which is like kind of normal for my stuff, I
It
think.
is a fucked up book. It's super fucked up. There was a part where I was reading and Rios walked by and I guess I was making a face. She was like, "Why are you making that face?" And I was like, "Oh, I'm just reading Elle's new book." And she's like, "Well, what's happening?" And I was like, "Oh, this girl just took her friend's tampon out and Elle describes like a little bit of mucus coming off of it, and then the other girl like sucks on it, sucks the blood off." And she's like, "Yeah, that is gross."
Yeah, that is gross.
Needed virgin blood.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I love
But
that
go ahead.
that scene too. Seems at first so witchcraft 101, like with the candles and like it's like, oh, teenage shit. And it's almost like out of like it it leads up to that uh pretty quickly so that it like goes from 0 to 100 almost. It's just like, oh yeah, teenagers doing little witchy shit. And then she's like, bloop, I'm gonna
That's
suck
so
this
funny.
too.
Wicca is just the gateway drug to chaos magic.
Yeah, yeah. Have you been getting into chaos magic? over the years?
Yeah, over the years, definitely like reading about it. I wouldn't say like I don't think I'd ever describe myself as like a chaos magician or something, but I found Liber Null really interesting just reading about it. Yeah, like reading about it and thinking about um the practices and stuff, like like forcing yourself to meditate like every day for like 30 days and like writing down the effect before you move on to something else, like forcing the mind. um but yeah, I don't know, my cosmology is really like, I don't know, it's like meditation based magic. Does that make sense? I think it
Yeah,
makes sense.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, oh, you actually sent me some really cool shit on meditation. What was that? It was it was like body based. There was different body parts related to, man, I can't
Mm.
remember. I have a tab open on my phone somewhere of it because it was good shit.
Oh, I remember, was that me that you're talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I remember finding this. Yeah, I was like for a long time I was like trying to find out any stuff I could on like meditation on death and stuff like that, like with Buddhism and how they do it. Kind of like the guy who puts himself in the cave with like the rotting body, like that
Hmm.
stuff. But that one I found, I can't remember the website, but I know what you're talking about, where like, yeah, you meditate on like each of the body parts. I gotta find that again because that was really cool. I want to do that.
That reminds
And
me, we
Yeah.
had
like
a guest on called
like all the
oh, go ahead, sir.
anatomy. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. It was like all the anatomy, like the nervous system or your eyeballs or your like guts or something. Anyway.
Yeah, Jay, who's been on the show a lot, he's meditated, I think, every day for 10 years. And he was talking about how now he can, like, the way that we think in our brain, like our consciousness is like centered up here. He said that like he can do that with his foot, right? He can
Mm,
like move the consciousness to his foot or his stomach. Um, and so that's what that kind of reminds me of. And I think that that would be cool because then I walked around and it made me think about how little I think about my feet, like they're the furthest part from me and I don't really pay any attention to them. But it would be interesting to try to get like hyper conscious of your feet, right? Or like
mm,
your back or something that you just
mm,
don't think about because you are this full meat thing that's moving
mm,
through space. And
mm.
I'm a person like with my OCD and anxiety bullshit or whatever. I'm so up here. It would just be cool to like not be up here for a little while and to kind of like have it be like a party that's going on upstairs where you're like, yeah, I'm up there. They're doing some crazy shit, but we're gonna chill down here by the feet for a little bit.
Do you meditate ever? Like, does it help you? No.
I need to get started on it though. I really do. I've been doing this well, I guess so because I've started doing this his name's Joe Gallenberger. He's part of the not the Mercer
Monroe
Institute.
Institute.
Monroe Institute, thank you. Yeah, yeah. He's
Mm,
part of the Monroe Institute and he's got a book called Liquid Luck and it's a meditation where you imagine having a like a vial or a container and
mm,
you put gratitude and happiness, gratitude, and a
Compassion.
few other things. Right, right, exactly. And basically, anytime you need luck, you envision yourself kind of taking a sip from this
oh, I like
drink
that.
that you've made. And it really, it's like crazy how it works. It's like
Yeah.
stupid luck, but it's luck. Like it
Yeah.
really does work. Because yeah, I'm getting super into like psi effects and telepathy and just me and Kelby these guys do a podcast called Rare Candy and they are currently remote viewing the NFL to try to like
Mm.
guess winners through telepathy.
Oh,
I'm
that's
really
And
good
cool.
at it.
yeah, you are like apparently you're like the just the rock star of remote viewing the NFL.
That's awesome. That's like, this is like a really stupid like anecdote on that. Whenever I think I was watching my husband play Yakuza once where there's like a mini game, but it's like a rock paper scissors type of mini game. So you have to
Mm-hmm,
guess the rock
mm-hmm.
paper scissors. And so I was like always like, I'm just gonna guess it. And you have to like go to the spot in your brain where like not thinking, right? Like you absolutely,
Mhm.
it's like a weird place in your head where you let go, because as soon as you think you're always wrong. But every time I could get to that place where I wasn't thinking and I guessed it, I was always right. So I'd be like, yes, you
Yeah.
know, which is like
In
really funny. I'm like, this is useful for your mini
Mhm.
game. It's like really funny.
Yeah, when you can just figure out how to do that with your brain and doing the like the group that is remote viewing the NFL, one of the things that I think is a quick hack to get into that place where you're not thinking about shit is you do a line on a paper, any line, just whatever, like you're signing, just whatever. Sometimes it's a squiggle, arrow, you just don't think about it. And so
Mhm.
that's like this quick hack that's like I ain't think about shit. I'm just like drawing random lines on a paper.
Mhm,
And
mhm.
then immediately from there, it's like, what do you see? What do what comes to you?
Yeah, that's cool. That's like a
Yeah.
little ritual. It works.
Yeah, I noticed that the psychic shit that I've been able to see, it really is it's starting to work. And again, it always works in really dumb ways. Like I'll just know if I'm at like Chicken Express or something, I'll know that there's going to be like a tall white guy in front of me, and then there's a tall white guy who's in line in front of me, you know? And
Mhm,
it's a little spooky. It's almost like two transparencies that are moving slightly away from
mhm,
each other, like further and further away. But
mhm.
maybe one day I can use that to make money because I really need to make money. And if I can do that psychically, if I can remote view things and then go bet on a horse or something, I will 100% do that.
That's funny. There's this meditation program that I've been doing for like 3 years now, called To Be Magnetic. And at first I was like, I don't know, I don't like the law of attraction stuff. I think it's kind of cheesy. I don't like when people like peddle, you can have whatever you want. You just have to
Mhm.
follow like my thing. But really, like, it's just a guided meditation program to help you like reprogram your subconscious beliefs about yourself. And when you do that, like obviously you see more opportunity, you make more room for that stuff. And like, I swear to God, it was like, because it's, I mean, at its core, it's magic. Like, you're using the mind to get in touch with your true will. That's literally just magic. And so, doing it and doing those meditations consistently, I swear to God, it's like, it actually does like help. Like, it's helped me book editing clients when I needed to make money, like, it's helped me get to the, like, when I was like trying to get to the UK, trying to find a flat, because like renting here is like hell. Like, it's just a really hard rental market. It's super competitive and stuff. And I don't know what it is. I don't know. It's so crazy. But it also helped me like build better boundaries and self-esteem. And I think that like plays a role too,
Yeah.
with that. So you should look into it. It's
No, yeah.
very feminine and stuff though, but like it's very like, it feels like crystals and chakras and stuff, but the meditations themselves are like really they're awesome. I love them. I do them a couple times a week.
All that feminine wine club new agey shit
Mhm.
is 100% the shit that actually like I've come back
It's real.
full
Yeah.
around
Yeah.
to. I'm like, you know
Hmm.
what? The secret actually, yeah, I think she's onto
It's real. The
something.
law of attraction. Yeah, when I was listening to you talk, I was like, I think the law of attraction is real. And people might not like to admit that because it's like you said, it's kind of corny or whatever. I don't give a shit if it's corny or not. Like,
Mm,
what works? Like, I want to know what works because Dr. Joe Dispenza is another really good one on
that
this. He
sounds
runs a
familiar.
clinic. Yeah, he runs a clinic. He was on, I heard him on Rick Rubin's podcast, and listening to that made me go get one of his books. And he's basically a law of attraction guy. And at his clinic, I mean, he's got data that shows that people can cure their cancers and even in some cases cure their blindness through this meditative practice that he does that
That's
kind of like
crazy.
opens their mind to doing it. And I mean, you can look at that and say that's probably bullshit, but why? To what end? Right? Like why would you close that off? So
Mm,
I have a lot of crystals. I think crystals work. I
they do.
I am into the law of attraction. I think that works too. I am
Hmm.
a radical believer in like homeopathy, I think works. I
Mm.
think TCM works really well. Um, I'm just pretty much against allopathy. Like I don't see how our modern medicine system, this kind of treating the symptom and not the underlying cause, it's
Mm.
very America to me, right? Like,
Mm.
let's just keep giving you band-aids, and then the band-aids in this case make you even sicker, so we can sell you more band-aids. It
Mm.
doesn't. I mean, allopathy did a few good things, like, keep babies from dying and invent penicillin, right? That was good. Um, but I think it's kind of run its course at the moment. We got to look at mind power, meditation, uh, herbs, mushrooms, right?
Yeah, oh my
Mushrooms are
God.
big.
Mushrooms are great. I got really into lion's mane for a while, but I haven't been eating mushrooms as often for the past like year. Um, but lion's mane was crazy. I feel like it gave me like stronger dreams and stuff. I was having also like memories from childhood that would just like come out of nowhere. Like it really helped. But now when I do it, I don't feel like it's as strong anymore. I don't know why. Maybe my body just got used to it.
Tolerance. You need more lion's
Yeah.
mane.
Yeah.
You
I
go to
need to
the
start taking more.
lion's mane plug, like, hey, big dog,
I
you
know.
need to hook me up with that extra lion's mane. I need that
Mm,
king of the jungle shit.
mm,
Deliver Me is a bit about manifest destiny in a way. If you
mhm.
believe that you are pregnant, then
Then it'll happen.
it'll happen
She's
in a
very,
Kind
way.
of,
yeah.
yeah.
She's like very sure that she's like, if I can just make this work, yeah, like it'll happen for me. Yeah.
This book is so fucked up. I like I this is one of the craziest books to come out in the past several years. Reading it, I was like, um, well, I knew it was gonna be good because you're like, what for what with everything you've dropped is always a banger.
Thank you.
But this one felt refreshing in a way that it didn't feel like bogged, watered down by any modern shit. Like it feels dangerous, like
Mm.
like unconcerned with I don't think Roxane Gay would approve of this one. There's like a whole bunch of body references and like what the gross shit and like the every single character is depicted in this non-judgmental way that like you could even interpret parts of it as being extremely male sympathetic, which is also
Mm,
very different for the current climate of even dudes writing everything like
mm.
this is my statement on toxic masculinity. And it's like a lot of the shit that daddy says, like David brought up how he has these like hypocritical political beliefs or whatever, and that's true, but like he also uh when he's expressing how he feels about how society, the pressure of society on men, I was like, okay, point the lie out. Like, I feel you, bro.
Yeah, like I mean, it was interesting when like the rejections and stuff started coming in when it was on sub because I didn't, well, part of me was like, maybe it will get to a big publisher. Like, who knows? You know what I mean? But when the rejections were like, I could do without the last like 20 pages on this, I was like, oh yeah, okay. That's probably where this is going then. I was like, I accept this. I'll just be an indie writer forever.
How
That's
many drafts did you go through on this? I'm curious.
So let me think. The first draft was written entirely in third person, and I was like, this doesn't work. So then I went and I changed it to first person. And then I think I sent it to my agent like back and forth maybe 2 times. So that would be like 4 drafts. And then I did, I think I did 2 with the publisher. Like I got notes back and I was like finalizing and changing stuff. And then he had like one more round of like changes that we wanted to make, where we changed something in one of like the plot lines. And then I did a round of like copy edits, like really tight copy edits, like timelines, and making sure like that the weather was right for the time of year, and like making sure that the Bible quotes were like from the right Bible, and like that, you know, like that kind of thing. Like they were all from one Bible or whatever. So how many ever that is, 6 or 7, I think.
That's
So
interesting.
it's like
Yeah.
so much. Yeah.
And did you grow up religious?
No, well, kind of like I went to Sunday school, and my parents didn't really force me to like go to church, you know? Like when I was 13, I was like, I don't believe in God anymore. My dad was angry with me, but he never like made me like do
Mm-hmm.
anything. But he was
Mm-hmm.
like, he would watch like every single Jesus movie ever made every Christmas. Like he loved to
Mm-hmm.
binge watch movies before it was like a thing, right? And then he would watch all of the Left Behind movies. So I've like seen all those. And I also like living in Colorado Springs, which is really religious. You kind of just get exposed to it. Like I have so many weird memories of going to like Camp Awana, which is like a Christian kids like youth group thing with neighbors. I don't even know why. Like I was like, why was I into that? And like a lot of focus on the family stuff was in our schools. Like I think we had this thing called, like it was like some junior leadership thing, but it was all funded by Focus on the Family, that was like in like it's just in the school, which is crazy because Focus on the Family is like a Christian organization, you know. So you just kind of like have it and are exposed to it. But I luckily was never like forced to, like once I wanted to leave, like I was never forced to go back to it. So that's nice, at least.
Our church had the Focus on the Family movie reviews. Every Sunday they'd have a new pamphlet that had whatever had just come out in theaters and then like all the bad shit that's in the movie.
That
And I
was
used to love reading those.
that
So
was
funny.
secret spank material.
Right, right.
Oh, that's so funny.
I would find those and I would be like, okay, this is the movie that I want to watch. It would be like, there's like 8 people get their heads chopped off. I was like, all right, cool. Yeah, I
Yeah.
gotta go check that out. But yeah, no, I was Oklahoma. My church, they spoke in tongues. And
Yeah.
it was I think that if I could have gone a really different way because my brain is primed for it. Like I believe in ghosts and aliens and Bigfoot, so like I'm perfect for being like super Christian, right? Because
Mhm.
I just believe that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
Um,
And you're
but
obsessive, so that works too for Christians and
I think
religion.
that's
Yeah.
I'm so glad you brought that up because I'm
Yeah.
90% sure that that's why I got OCD. 100%. Like you think an imaginary person is like watching you and is taking notes on it, and that's what it's like to be in my brain just without the big man, you know.
Mhm.
But it was the speaking in tongues, I think, when I was like maybe 12. It was that, and also going to Bible camp and like kids would bring Limp Bizkit and Corn albums. So new metal kind of like saved me. I started to associate church camp with finding cool music. But it was the tongues where I was like, this is too weird. This is too far. Because it felt fake. You know what I mean? Like it felt
Mhm.
like everybody was
Mhm.
bullshitting, but bullshitting in this really silly way, right?
Mhm.
Like the speaking in tongues to me just always felt silly, and like how I don't know, there was just something about watching people with their eyes squeezed shut and their hands up and listening to this really bad, like worse than Creed Christian rock type stuff where I was
Yeah.
like, I can't do this aesthetically. This just doesn't work for me.
I know. Yeah, it's interesting. I feel like, so I've read some studies on glossolalia too, and sometimes like when people do it, it is like they're accessing a different part of their brain.
Mhm.
But there is that social pressure like that you're talking about, where like when you're there, there's all this social pressure to participate and like not break, right, from the character. And it's almost like they're like forcing like a trance state on people, you know? Like if you ever, so did your church ever do like the laying of hands and stuff too?
Mhm, mhm, mhm.
Yeah, it's like there's all this social pressure around it to like participate and have it like be real, or like feel like, you know, the touch, like, or whatever, of God, you know. And so it's weird because it's like when you think about how ritual and magic works and how you do need to push yourself into trance-like states, like it can produce like religious experiences no matter how you do it. And so it is fascinating to me, like seeing that in that practice where people are like they're bought in and they're doing it, and even though it's fake, they're like pushing for the frenzy until it comes through or something. Like it's completely, I don't know, it's just so wild, you know.
Yeah, they would speak in tongues, and then they would start like a train around the church with people with like tambourines, and you'd be
Oh
encouraged to
yeah.
like join the soul train type thing, and
Uh,
literally, I guess. But
yeah.
yeah, I couldn't get that. I couldn't get down with that. But you are 100% right. Like looking back on it now, it's perfectly good magic. Like it works from a
Mhm.
magic perspective, right? They
Mhm.
are like I know there's a lot of like fake laying of hands preachers or whatever, but where I'm
Mhm.
at now, I'd probably say that yeah, it probably works. Probably works if everybody believes it enough. Like you probably
Mhm.
can lay hands and you know make somebody walk again or something like that just through
I'd
the
be
power of
curious.
like placebo. Sorry.
Yeah. Through placebo. Yeah, I'd be curious to like read up on that. I've never done like a deep dive on like successful cases of like laying on of hands or something like that.
Hmm. Hmm.
You ever
Mm-hmm.
been to one of those small Southern Black churches where like that's where I've seen it like, okay, this shit
Mm-hmm.
is like there's something to that. I've seen like with a lot of those Pentecostal laying of hands usually coincides with like a prosperity gospel
Mm-hmm.
doctrine. Those are like 10 of 10 a grift. And I mean, you could even probably still experience shit if you're, I mean, you're putting yourself in a trance or whatever. And like,
Mm-hmm.
if you believe, then you can make a lot of shit happen. But uh, yeah, that always had the air of like a con air, if you will, uh, to it. But I went with a friend one time to this long after I was like done with church shit. I was like, yeah, I'll go to, we can go on Sunday, make grandma happy and shit. And because I was living with them at the time. And so we went to church to make grandma happy. And it all felt real. Like it was so
Mm-hmm.
overwhelming. And I think the heat had a lot to do with it too. There's like no AC and just but everybody's just like there also wasn't an offering plate involved. It was
Mm-hmm.
just this like wanting to reach out and touch that thing, like
Mm-hmm.
connect with that thing, that it was like everybody in the room. It was like just about to drop.
Mm-hmm. I bet that the overwhelming feeling feels like that feels real. Like I went to a UPC church in Arkansas, like because I was doing the research for it. And it's like, I mean, when you're like a newcomer, everyone's always like really nice to you because they're like, oh, you want to be the one that like saves the new person, you know what I mean? But like it is when I was there, I was like, this is really overwhelming. And I remember there was like a moment where the like pastor was like, does anybody want to come up and get baptized? But like I don't know. I was like, I had this moment where I was like, do I want to do it? Like, do I want to
Yeah.
have the experience? But I'm also like really superstitious. And so I was like, I'm not going to do it because I'm not a Christian. So like, I'm not going to
Yeah.
get baptized. But I was
Yeah.
like tempted
Deliver
and he was like looking right at me. So I was like, am I going to do it?
Deliver Me could have been a really different book, a really different book.
Yeah.
With all the chicken stuff, what did you do for research with the gross chicken factory stuff? Did you watch
I
videos?
Yeah, I watched a lot of videos. I actually had a friend that worked in a factory out there, and so like she told me a lot about her experiences, and also just kind of like hating industrial agriculture since I was like, I don't know, 16 or whatever when I read Fast Food Nation, by Eric Schlosser.
Mhm.
I just have always hated industrialized agriculture, and so I feel like I just have a lot of knowledge about it. But when I was doing like a deeper dive, it's incredible. Like it's actually incredible how it's just so bad. Like it's terrible. The
Yeah.
workers are not treated well. Like the workers are not treated well. Like the the group, like the companies push, you know, the OSHA standards like really hard. It's also, it's so disgusting, like it's not really sanitary, you know. It's something like 30% of chicken in America just guaranteed has salmonella in it or something like that. Like it's just a guarantee, you know. It's wild. Like, so I don't know. It's bad.
I
I
think I
love the
read
way you
somewhere that. Oh, go
Hmm?
ahead. Go ahead.
the way you present it is great because like it you get disgusted just by well, I guess somebody who is really cold to this and just does not give a fuck is not going to go changed by reading this. And I love
Hmm.
that because it's like it's just presented and you're just like you're just casually like uh there's like a ticker on the wall that has enough space to be like 100 million or something, or I guess like almost a billion is how much
Hmm.
space this ticker has on it for the amount of chickens coming down the line like per day. It's just fucking ridiculous. God damn, that is a lot. But it's just like straightforward. It's just like matter of fact. These are the things
Hmm.
happening. And so I fucked with that because it gave it like a you felt how cold it was by how cold it was being delivered too.
Mhm, mhm. It's wild. It's something like, I think I wrote in the book there's like 140 birds per minute, which was at the time like that's the standard. I think it's up to 170 now. Like they're legally allowed to push workers to manufacture, like kill, yeah, like kill and process 170 birds in a single minute. It's crazy. Like that's so much. I don't know.
Yeah, that's fucking sucks. When I was reading it too, this is one of those books. It could be, it's definitely a contender, I think, for book of the year. I think this is going to be a really successful book. Um, but when I read books like this, I wonder, you know, because you have Daisy who's so she's like so screwed up. Her mind is it's like 5 or 6 levels away from healthy, right? And I
Mhm.
just wonder, this might sound like a stupid question, I don't know, but like when you're this close to a character, what do you think that somebody who's like, is there like any way out for people like that? Or is she just at that point, has she crossed some sort of line of no return? And
Mhm.
while she might not do what she does at the end, like are there hope for people like that? Like what do you even do?
I know. That's a really good question because I don't know for sure, you know, like in
Mm.
terms of like, can people come back from things like for example, like with schizophrenia, I'm just assuming that's like a lifelong chronic illness. You just have to live with it and you can balance it, you know, like you can probably medicate it, but like I don't know, you know, it's like to what extent, like what is that experience like? But with this, I really felt so when I first came across the news article that inspired me to write this novel, um, that was kind of the thing where I was like, how did this happen? How could someone like lie for 9 months and nobody around her knows, right? Like, how could nobody just know? And so I think that with a good safety net and like real community and like people who care, like, I think that those are things that people need. Like people just need community. And I think community is really important, specifically with mental illness. And I don't know why, right? Like it just makes the most sense. You know, like being in community with people helps us feel better and helps us stay healthy. And I think that that's a big part of it. One of the cases that I had researched was of Lisa Montgomery, and this was there was like one true crime book like written about her life. And I mean it was like not written really well, but it was like, you know, like mass market paperback from like 2006 or something, like right after she had her trial. And like she was on death row, and actually like while like the book was already like gonna be come out, but her like day came up. Like Trump was doing all these like executions like really suddenly, I guess, before he was gonna leave office. And so they were like trying to appeal her case. And it turns out that when she was tried, there was all this stuff that came out about her life, like the abuse that she endured from being like a young child to a teenager, from her mom, from her dad, from her stepdad, from her like her stepbrother whom she married when he came back like from the Navy. I don't know why. Like there was all this stuff, and then she was able to leave that family behind and get a new husband. But because of all this like abuse that essentially like had never been dealt with, like she became, mentally ill, or however you want to say it, like she is mentally ill. None of that stuff like helped, right? Like it made it worse. Anyway, all this stuff came out, and it's like, yeah, I don't know. It's like it was just overlooked in her case in 2004, 2005. Like the lawyer she had didn't even think to try to find out any of this kind of information. So when she was tried, she was just tried on well, some of it seems like she was just tried on the merits of like being a bad mother. Like they painted her as a bad mom because she couldn't keep her house clean, and things like that, where it's like, yeah, well, because she's struggling. Nobody who's healthy can do that. You know what I mean? It was awful, like reading the case, like the notes on the case and stuff like that. But part of that is that being in community, it's like what she had for the majority of her like childhood and teenage life was the absolute opposite of community. It wasn't isolation, it was like abuse. It was like the worst kinds of abuse you can imagine. So maybe that's it. Community.
I think,
Hmm.
yeah, no, I think that's dead on. And
Yeah.
you kind of paint that in the book a lot too, just by seeing like putting the dots together between the relationship with the mother and then the whole scenario with like between Sloane and Todd, and how Todd you later find out was actually her cousin, right? Would have
Second
been
cousin, right?
Sloane's second cousin,
Hmm.
something like that.
Hmm.
So it's like all these, it's like these dynamics that uh not to go on a separate tangent, but like I love how you just leaned into the poor exploitation, like without any kind of like, oh, this is exploitative or whatever. It's like I hate that people started shying away from that shit because it made a bunch of shit that I can't relate to no more. Where I'm
Hmm.
like, no, shit is really like that. It's falling apart, and people got, old folks on oxygen living in their living room, and they got like that's all real. They got one-eyed cats. Like this, this is
Hmm.
really what it's like.
Hmm.
So I like that you just leaned into that. Uh
Thank you.
but
Yeah, because that's just what, because it's what people experience. There's nothing like, I don't know. Yeah, I feel like things are so clean like now, like more of the mainstream stuff, everything's so clean, it's very sanitized. So you're right.
yeah,
Have you read very
because
much mainstream stuff lately? Because I haven't. I don't really know what's going on out there.
Let me think, what have I read? Like what was the last book I read? I don't know, I'm hungover today, sorry, my brain is like not working that well. um I feel like I read something big recently, but I don't know what it was. No, because the only thing I can think of is like um Counter Illumination. So that's definitely not mainstream. And like Charlie Nelsby, that's definitely not mainstream. But it is amazing. Everyone needs to read Violent Faculties. Like you have to pre-order the book and fucking read it. It's so good.
Yeah, I've been looking forward to that one. She's great.
Yeah.
Everything that I've seen, it's like real death metal type shit.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's just there's a lot of really cool stuff that's going on in this like indie stuff. It feels like it's picking up again. I felt like it was dry for a while. I didn't feel like there was very much that I was particularly interested in, but now it's kind of coming back. And I think it
Mm-hmm.
has a lot to do with what you're talking about with like the past few years, people having to feel oddly I don't know. I knew a lot of people who I won't name who told me that they weren't going to write a book that they wanted to because they were afraid of how it
Mm-hmm.
would be seen, of how like they didn't want to become the main character on indie writer Twitter even for a day, which I've been. It's not fun. It's not great. But I think now, for whatever reason, people are starting to get back into like interesting stuff. I'm going to be right back. I can hear my son screaming. I can
Oh
still hear you
no.
guys, but I'm gonna go see what his deal is. I'll be right
Okay.
back.
That sounds good. Yeah,
on
now I'm
that
trying to
tip,
think. Yeah.
No, go. I was wanting to bring up this question and talking to you because you have always had this watching like your trajectory, it's always seemed like you will take that next step wherever like you want to take that next step is what it seems like. Um, but you have like a level of compromise you won't like a threshold of compromise you won't cross. But where like how is what is that balance like to you? Like, what do you, because you would be mainstream, right? Like, if it was like big press, right deal, like you would take that path.
Yeah, like if someone wanted to give me a book deal that was like winning the lottery, like I would definitely take that. But I don't think that I would change, like I don't think I would change certain fundamental parts of my art in order to do it. Like for example, one of the editors at Unnamed wanted me to remove one of the scenes from the novel, and specifically the cat scene, because I think she felt like there was just way too much violence in it for readers and it wouldn't connect as well. And like I kind of like when I was faced with that challenge, I did go back and forth like in kind of agony where I was like, do I want to remove it because it feels really fundamental to the character, and like there's a lot of purpose in it, you know. And I also like that one, like that particular scene, like when I read it, it still gives me like me chills, you know. Like when I read
Mhm.
it aloud, I read it aloud at KGB, and I was like, I felt the emotion from it, like I wanted to cry. So I was like, I don't know if I really want to cut that because it's so important to me. um and when she ended up leaving, she's at Simon and Schuster now. And so when I started working more with Chris, who's like the editor there now, I had a long conversation with him about it, and he ended up like on my side, you know? And so I was like, okay, cool. So I was like still gonna keep it in, but I at least kind of felt better that I had like this nod, right? Like of approval from like that specific editor. So yeah, like I would go mainstream. It would be nice to have like the financial support and feel like this is like my job, right? Or actually
Mhm.
get paid for like booking speaking events or whatever it is that like big five authors get just to make things like easier. Um, but like if there was, yeah, like I think if there was some fundamental thing I had to compromise about it, then like I wouldn't want it, you know, because
Yeah.
then it's like what are you doing? It's not fun. It feels good to like write what I'm writing. Like when I'm in it, I'm writing it because that's where I want to be. And so if I was going to like write something else, it would be like I don't know, and your heart wasn't in it, like it wouldn't feel as good. Like, and for me too, like I am so bad at being motivated for things I'm not interested in. So if I'm
Mhm.
not interested in it, there's like no fucking way like I'm gonna be able to even like complete it. And writing a book is hard. Like it takes a long time, you know. Like I've tried to ghostwrite before, like many years ago, and I was like, this is like fucking difficult for like shit that you just don't care about, you know. Like not even the money like motivated me enough to like do it. I did not do that.
Yeah,
So
sometimes yeah, you would think that like I've been really cutthroat lately and trying to get this and that thing sold and picked up and whatever, and like I'm in the mindset of where like the hustler side of me is like I'll compromise on whatever. But then when you get a maybe and you start to like, okay, let me get you something, then it's like that thing doesn't come. It's like I can't even write this. I don't, it's not in me. Like I can't even make it
mm,
happen. You can put money on the table and I'm like, I don't know.
yeah.
I could try and get AI to write it, I guess, but it's
I
not coming
know.
from me.
Yeah, I think like what I had in mind when I first started this novel was like I did think I wrote it and I was like it's gonna be more of like traditional narrative, like linear, you know, and follow this plot the way like bestseller books like write their plots, like very basic and easy. But as it evolved, I kind of was like my hope was I could like trick people into thinking that it was like a mainstream story,
Mhm.
but then it was still like me at the end. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Like that's kind
And
of, yeah.
Yeah, no, it has that feel because you do something really clever in this one where David and I have actually been kind of dogging on non-traditional narratives lately, just because it's like I,
Mhm.
there's exceptions to everything, you know, people
Yeah.
just write a good book. That's all you should do. But like
Mhm.
a lot of shit I've been trying to read lately, I'm like, where's the plot? Can this have a story, please? For the love of
Mhm.
God? Like, can
Mhm.
this be about something? And the Deliver Me has a really clever, besides having a ton of hooks and just like things that make you want to keep reading just to find out what happens. It has this sustained sense of like tension where you don't know where it's going, but you feel like it's going somewhere really dark. Like it feels like a horror book, even.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, I was like, after writing this, I've been wanting to like push harder into horror somehow. I don't know how. Like, I don't know if I'll ever be like a genre writer, right? Maybe I should be because I feel like those people make a lot of money.
Yeah,
Um,
I've heard they
but
do.
yeah, but like, but yeah, I definitely was like, okay, it's like I could feel it like going in that territory. And like I kind of like that arena. So I don't know. It's curious. But no, you're right about stuff that is plotless. I've been thinking about this a lot lately. Stuff that is plotless can be good, but I feel like everything has a plot. I don't like people who say like plot isn't important because I'm like, plot is simply like it's just the through line that you're experiencing with the character. And to me, that plot is also emotional resonance, right?
Hmm.
Like, if there's no tension, then like you don't want to read the story, you know? And
Right.
so that's why with books like that where you're like, well, where is this going? Like I cannot get through this because there's no emotional stakes at all. Like it's not interesting, you know, or at least it doesn't interest you, right? Because that play of tension like isn't there and like that's what you're going to like to fiction for. And so with stuff that is plotless, it's kind of like or plotless. As long as you have like tension, right? Like I think it can be good. Like Chelsea Hodson's work is really good for that. She can put tension in like a single sentence. And is like I don't know how she does it. She's like really talented at that. But her work would be traditionally considered like plotless, you know, because it like maybe doesn't have like the traditional climax or something. You know what I
Right. It's
mean?
not like about a heist or about the whatever, the hero's journey or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, tension, that's probably the main thing. And I guess with this, like you do have that linear structure in the sense that there's a first trimester, second trimester, third trimester. Like it's about a pregnancy, even though it's a fake pregnancy, there's still like, okay, everybody knows that this results
Yeah.
in a baby after 9 months. What's gonna
Where's the
happen?
baby? Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
what's gonna happen here? Because
Mm.
you're not pregnant.
Yeah, I thought that would be the best way. I had to like really figure out too, like I had to go back to the drawing board and I read this book about like how to construct a plot and um like what elements of like plotting and stuff are because I was just like I just don't know. Like it took me 5 years just to finish the first draft of Animals and I was like I don't want to do this. Like I want to actually like complete like really complete it. So after doing all of the planning and stuff, I was able to do that first draft in like 11 weeks or something, like planning to completion. And I was like, once I did that, I was like, oh yeah, I'm definitely this is the way for me now. It was like so satisfying to have a finished draft, you know.
How much Mike were you watching while writing this? Because I know you've been on a kick lately, but there were some things in here that I was like, especially the sexually perverted shit with like the
Mm,
Beatles and all that, where I was like, this is some Mike type territory right here.
that's so funny you say that because I have only recently really been getting into Mike. Like, um, at least the stuff that's like not like his more like Yakuza stuff. Like apparently I watched Gozu like fucking years ago and I just didn't know that was him, like that was Mike. I just kind of forgot about it because when I was like I made that tweet and I was like someone recommends movies and everybody recommended Gozu and I was like I'll watch it and then I put it on and I was like oh I've already seen this like twice I think.
Yeah.
It was funny. but yeah, no, not really like a lot. I'm trying to think. The bug stuff just lives in my brain because I've spent way too much time like on the asshole of the internet, like stuff like that. Like you just collect, like you collect things about human nature, and you have them in your head, and you're just like, for me anyway, I'm just like, God, humans are so weird. Like I love that though. Like I love how fucking weird we are. Like there's just no limit, to like where like the human experience can take you. It's honestly incredible.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think that love that you have for it is how uh it comes out in a way that in that non-judgmental way that I was talking about is like that's so refreshing to read because a lot of those perversions or whatever, whenever like okay, there's absolutely limits, of course, and like
Hmm.
everybody knows like some very specific limits that is like
Hmm.
that's not cool,
Hmm.
but being perverted behind closed doors is like not you don't have to put those things on a bad person basically
Yeah.
where you're just like this guy's really into bugs and it's weird. It's extremely
Yeah.
weird the way this guy's
Yeah.
into bugs.
Yeah. I know. It's interesting. Like, so recently, like last couple weeks, I've been watching a bunch of Fear Factor. Like the way old episodes. And
Yeah,
they eat lots, they always have like the bug eating, in the episodes. Or they have like they put you in like a pit of like snakes and worms and like the hissing cockroaches and that kind of thing. And it's interesting, it relates to the bug stuff in the book because for me watching it, I'm kind of like, is it a morally gray line because we believe that bugs like don't have consciousness or don't have feelings or something, right? Like that you would just eat like a live bug, Like
yeah,
is that morally wrong or is it not morally wrong? And I kind of have that, it's an interesting line specifically like with that, the bug kink, because it's like, is that morally wrong because it's bugs? Like because some people view bugs as like, angels, and they're like, oh, they're all part of our consciousness. And like, they won't kill bugs in their house. That's me. I don't kill bugs in my house, or like I even have pet bugs. So I'm like, they're like cool.
what
But
kind
like
of
some
bugs?
people have a scorpion, and the scorpion is like a foresty scorpion. So she likes to burrow and stuff, not like a desert scorpion. And then we just got like a tarantula. There was a bug show like a couple weeks ago, and I went and just bought this tarantula on a whim for my husband because he's wanted one for a long time. And I was like, he's never gonna do it himself. I'll just buy it for him as a gift. But it actually turns out that I bought one of the most poisonous tarantulas to exist. So I was like, fuck. I was like, oh no, like I felt so bad because the large majority of tarantulas, like their poison isn't their venom isn't like that bad. But like this one is like in this family of spiders where it's like terrible. Like if you get bit, you can like have excruciating pain and cramps for like weeks or months. And I was like, God damn it. That was like a total accident.
It's like
So,
what
but
are you
she's just
trying
a
to say
baby
with
right
this
now.
gift?
I know. I felt so bad. But she's just like this big. She's like a little baby right now. But then some people don't view bugs as anything. You know what I mean? Like they don't like they're perfectly fine like killing a spider or whatever, and it doesn't mean anything to them. So it's interesting just those perceptions in terms of like how people like maybe in the fetish world use them or on Fear Factor.
Yeah, yeah. Now, I'm kind of an animist, but like whenever it suits me more, I guess. I'm also like I don't like living around cockroaches, you know. So
Oh
like
yeah. No, roaches are
so
the worst. When we lived in Arkansas, we had such a bad roach problem. But it's almost like unavoidable because it's just like where you live, like we're on the ground floor, and it's just like where you live, like when you're in an apartment that you share with other people. Um, and like I swear to God, during the summer, if you went out at night and walked and like like just showing your flashlight on the ground, they would just be like all over the fucking grass. Like so gross. There was just so many all the time. But that's the South, you know. There's always bugs. So
Yeah, yeah. And we're
yeah.
like Lake Jackson is the what's it called? The slogan on the city is the city of enchantment.
Mm.
And they want, pride themselves on trees being everywhere because it's a Dow chemical city, so it's a factory
Mm.
city. So it's all like, hey, look how much nature is here. We're not poisoning anything. We're good for the
Mm-hmm.
environment. So it's all like harping on the tree. But we do got a lot of trees here, and with that comes a lot of
Lots of
roaches.
bugs. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. A lot of bugs. Yeah, I think the worst thing about seeing a roach too is that like when you see it out on the counter, you're just like, that means that the nest is overcrowded and they're fucking everywhere. Like you're just like, oh my God, it's awful. Welcome back.
Thank you. Yeah, no, we're between houses right now, and so we're living with my in-laws, and I got him down to sleep at 1:30, so about 2 hours ago. And they just talk really loud and turn the
Mm.
TV on really loud. And
Mm.
then he wakes up screaming, and she was just standing there holding him like he woke up. I don't know what happened. And I was like, "Oh, you don't know what happened? Interesting. Does it have something to do with the volume of the fucking TV, maybe?"
Yeah.
So we were just laying on the bed, and I thought he was going to go back to sleep, but he's up. So now he's watching Dinosaur Train.
Yay. How old is he now?
2.5.
Oh my gosh.
Dude, he's telling me some crazy shit too. He was watching this show about airplanes, and they
Mm.
go into the cockpit of this airplane, and he's like, "That's the yoke. Those are
So
the,"
he like
he's like, "Those are
knows.
the," yeah, he's like, "Those are the rudder pedals. That's the instrument panel." I was like, well, cool, man. That's pretty badass.
That's amazing. Oh,
Yeah,
that's
he's a
so
smart
cool.
boy. We've been going to high school football games, and because he's sensitive about super loud noises, like if people sing happy birthday and then cheer, he would always scream and cry.
Mm.
But he's getting over it because he all week he'll be like, football game, football
Oh,
game.
it's
And then
so
we'll go to the
cute.
football game, and he'll just like be holding on to me, like, because they're going like boo, 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 boo. And so he's
Yeah,
like, it's sensory overload, but he also thinks
exciting.
football is cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's great. I'm going through a weird like depression right now because I lived with him for 2 years straight, and we were
Mm.
like together all day every day. And Kelby knows, and most listeners of Agitator probably know too, that it drove me fucking insane.
Mm.
Absolutely bonkers. But
Mm.
now that I work and Rio stays home, I'm like I was cleaning out our old house yesterday, and it was like the corniest Lifetime movie, like all the memories of when I wanted to kill him, like that type of shit. Uh, so yeah, it's just he's a he's a cool kid.
Hmm. Yeah, I feel that when I went back to work when I was still in the States and I got a full-time job as a phlebotomist, I did have this like little pain like inside of like not being home like all day. It was
Mhm.
so weird. And then working at the office that I just quit that job. I did that for a year and a half here in the UK and like it was hard because Wednesday was in daycare from like 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. So I'd only see her for like an hour before she had to like get ready for bed, and that would just be like me making her dinner and like us hanging out for a little bit. And so I was like, damn, I'm like not even seeing her, like I'm not even like hanging out with her. This is crazy. So I was like, I gotta quit my job.
Yeah,
She's only gonna
yeah,
be
no,
little for so
100%,
long. Yeah, like she's only gonna be
100%.
little for so long. It's hard. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think I got my time. I got those 2 years. We made a lot of memories together. But I also think that, he needs his mom there,
Mhm.
not me, because if I raise him, he's going to be an absolute maniac. So it's for the best the way that it is now. But
Hey, he knows
Yeah.
his planets though.
he knows his planets, he knows his numbers, he knows his colors, he knows his letters. He apparently knows what the inside of a cockpit looks like and how
That's
everything works.
amazing.
So We did okay. We did okay, but
Mhm.
I don't know. Put the question to both of y'all. Like, how do you rate yourselves as parents? Because I don't I give myself like a B minus.
Mhm. I always feel like I could do way better than I do. Like I know I do a good job because I care in that respect that I'm like I'm actually concerned with like the nature of my parenting. But it's really hard to like balance everything like all
Mhm.
at once. And like I definitely have like ADHD issues or whatever in the sense that like I hyper focus on a lot of things. I need a lot of my own time. And so that always makes me feel bad because I know like Wednesday wants to play with me a lot more like than she actually can. And part of it is that I'm just like not built I'm not built for the kind of play that like she always like wants, and I'd rather
Mhm.
her feel like I'd rather play when I feel like it so she knows that like I'm there and I'm having fun rather than her seeing that I'm not, that I'm not into it or something and
I
then
feel that. Yeah.
being like mom
Hmm.
hates me or like whatever.
Hmm.
But I try um I work really hard at making sure that her emotions are always like taken care of. And I so that for me is like enough. Like if I hurt her feelings, I always apologize. Um and stuff like that. It's just stuff that I never got as a kid. So as long as I'm doing that, then I'm okay. It's okay if she eats like hot dogs or like doesn't eat a single vegetable in a day sometimes because like it's just too fucking hard all the time. It's too hard all the time.
Yeah. No, that
Mhm.
balance is real. Hopefully I can be graded on like a sliding scale and not just
Hmm.
like if I'm right now, probably like a D plus. I'm doing pretty bad.
Oh no.
Hmm.
Rowan comes up and he's like, uh he'll be like, it's okay. You're my best friend. Like he apologizes for me. He's like, what you did was fucked up, but it's okay. I still love you. I'm like, God damn it. I'm doing really bad.
Bro, Gus
uh,
is doing that same shit. Like but well, no, it's a little different because like he'll do something fucked up, like punch me, and then he'll uh, be like, it's okay, it's okay, it's okay. I'm like, dude, you just hit me. What the fuck, bro?
It's really
Um,
funny.
no, yeah, parenthood is well, it's such a you know great place to write stories about too.
Mhm.
I feel for people who can't have kids who really want them. You know what I mean? There's that part where she's talking to Sloane and Sloane's like wanting to go to a clinic and she's like, there's some people who would really, really want to have kids. And you hear that argument all the time. I think before you've had kids. Um, and at least I'll speak for myself. Like I didn't really get it or care. You know what I mean? Because it's like, well, big deal. But it's a real thing, right? That has to be a real thing where you want to do something so badly and other people are just,
just
don't,
popping
but
them out left
can.
and right. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's true. I definitely there's so many things about parenthood that I maybe had no capacity for understanding like until I had a kid. And it's such a like cliche thing to say to be like, oh yeah, like when you're a parent, like you'll get it or whatever. But like it is crazy. Or I was like judgmental of other parents before, not like extremely, but more just like I would have like my ideas about whether or not something was effective, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like with a
Mhm.
kid. And then being a parent, I'm like, oh no, no. Like it's
The
always,
kind of parent I thought I was going to
yeah,
be, if I could go back two and a half
yeah,
years, I would be like, that's fucking adorable, you
yeah,
idiot. None of that's going to work.
yeah, yeah. Like it's so different. And every situation is so unique. And like even every tantrum just not always fixed in the same way. Like it's always so different. You just like fight. You choose which battles like you want to fight because yeah, you can't do it all. Like you can't fight all of them.
That's what Erica has been trying to teach me lately.
Yeah.
She's like, pick your battles. This is really what you want to fight with them about. I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
all right.
Yeah, no, it's true.
But
It's like it's hard because like you're used to like, so you're the parent and you're like, I'm gonna be the one in control, like I am responsible for you, but like they're in their little worlds, like they really fucking want control, and like they will if when they do want it, they will stop at nothing like to get it. And it's so hard with some things to like relinquish that control and know when to do it, you know? like like I'm really bad for, if she doesn't like, if she doesn't listen to me, she'll be like, well, you're not the boss of me, you know? Or she'll be like, I'm not going to do what you say, like that's what she says, like just like that. And like sometimes like I have to remember, like these are times when I actually have to be really firm, you know, and be like, you know, and I had to follow through like with the consequences and be the one that like takes control, or else like she's just gonna run all over me, you know, until she's like
Yeah.
16 or whatever. But then like with other things, like with the little things, right, it'll be like put your jacket on for school. I don't want to put my jacket on. And like those kind of things, I'll just have to be like, okay, you know, like I don't want you to be cold, but like you're not going to learn about why I want you to put your jacket on until you're cold. So let's go to school without your jacket today, you know? And then you feel like a dick the whole time walking to school, where she's like, I'm cold. And I'm like, I'm sorry, you know, like
It's
I feel
really nice and warm
terrible.
inside this jacket that I brought
Yeah.
for myself, you know?
Yeah.
That's
You
too funny.
know, yeah,
Yeah.
but it's like
It,
it's hard
is she starting to
anyway.
get an accent? Is she getting an accent, like a Scottish accent?
Kind of. It's hard for me to tell, like, because I hear her like every day, you know.
Mhm,
But
mhm,
my husband was saying that she does, like, because he was away, you know, like for 9, he had to stay in the States for like 9 months while I was here and parenting her, and he says that she does sound different, and she says things in like in a Scottish way now, you know, like she'll be like, she'll be like, I done this at school, or like I
mhm,
seen that bug, like that's kind of something that they say grammatically, and I don't correct it because I'm like, yeah, I just want you to fit in.
mhm,
um
mhm.
but she definitely like sometimes when she's been spending a lot of time at daycare, because she's there, well, like after school care, she comes home, and when she gets really excited, she will talk with this like very Scottish intonation, where like,
That's hilarious.
yeah, they like rise up at the end of their sentences like all the
Mhm,
time with everything, and she really picks up the intonation a lot and stuff like too. It's so cute. So I wonder what it'll be
mhm.
like when she's like 10. I don't know.
Oh,
Just
she'll just have a
picturing
full-on accent. Yeah.
Mhm.
just picturing a little girl like that. Who is it? Is it Bugsby, or is it, what's that character's name? Train Spotting, the the one who throws the drink
Oh
over
yeah,
the
Begbie.
balcony. Bigby,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Just picturing like a little girl, but with
I
that level of
know.
like,
The level of fight in them, I know.
yeah.
No, it's like it is crazy. Like people here are so friendly too, but it's like when you go out drinking, everyone is like, yeah, they're just super friendly. Like as long as you don't talk shit about Glasgow, which I would never do because I love it here.
Mhm.
Um, but like people really do get rowdy like that, but like fun.
That's cool.
I
That's the
was
thing that
oh, go
Chris
ahead.
always brings up. Chris Kelso always brings up whenever he's like, "Yeah, we're gonna link up one day. You got to come over to Scotland and let's go drink." It's always let's go
I
drink.
know, yeah.
Mm, mhm.
I know. That's what we do. Like we'll all go out and get drinks. He's pretty cool. He's like the nicest human.
Y'all
Yeah.
But
hang
yeah.
out like how big? I don't even know like proximity. How big is like Scotland? Y'all are pretty close over there.
Well, yeah, he lives in Ayrshire, which I think is like, I think it's like 45 minutes maybe by train. I'm not entirely sure. But yeah, it is at least like 30 or 40 minutes. So it's not too far from Glasgow. The UK is very small. You can travel
Yeah.
it
You
in a day.
you watched Visitor Q?
I did.
What'd
Finally.
you
I
think of
wanted
that?
to I wanted to watch it for like years and years. But like for some reason I just like never, like I never did. And then when I was like, I want to find it, I could never find it. But we torrented it, and I was like, I'm finally gonna watch this movie. Because I heard that it was like the most fucked up movie ever made or something like that. Like I was like, am I gonna be scarred? I must know. Um, but it was good. It was like I was trying to think of it being made like for its time. And it was really surprisingly funny to me, like when I was watching it, like because I watched it with my husband, and he lived in Japan, like he grew up there, so for him he's
Mhm.
like already kind of like knows all this stuff. He was like, "Are you laughing at this?" And I was like, "It's funny." Like I don't know, like some
It
parts are
really
just
is. Like when
like,
he finds the shit, like when he's like,
yeah,
"Oh, life is shit," because the corpse has like emptied herself, right?
yeah,
That's funny. And the
yeah,
milk is hilarious, where he has his little umbrella and she's just spraying breast milk everywhere.
the
Classic
umbrella.
scenes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the umbrella's really, yeah, like it's so good. Um, but it made me think too, like I love how it focuses on each of the different characters, and each of the different characters like has their fucked up thing. Like they have a fucked up thing, and then they have like something that also makes them a little bit redeemable, like they're victims of something as well in the same process. I don't know. It was really clever. It made me think about like writing and like filmmaking. If I ever like you know want to write a screenplay or something, I was like, how do people do this? How do people like make other characters outside of their main character really complex and interesting? um but yeah, no, it was good. And like I didn't really realize that the visitor was visitor Q until like towards the end, but then I was like, where does he come from? Why is he there?
Hmm.
The rock
Right?
scene
Just
too, like do you remember when like the girl's on the street and he just has this rock and then she just like looks at it? Like I was like, oh my god, it's like so funny. Is it terrible that it's funny? It just is.
Yeah, no,
it,
it is funny. And he gets the dad with the rock. Like
Yeah.
everybody gets got with the rock.
through the
What
window. He gets the dad through the
yeah.
window. I just
Yeah, just like
like
Yeah.
he
reaches
just
in,
pops up.
doop.
Boop.
Yeah.
What do you think though, in terms of how to flesh out, you know, uh minor characters? Is it through just giving them sort of contradictory traits, or how do you think that that's done?
It's a really good question. I don't know. Like, I think part of it is, I would like to think is like it's through practicing empathy, but in like a method acting kind of way, right? Like for me, I just really work better with first person. Like when I think of like myself as not like my actual self, but like I'm writing from this perspective, I just like the psychic closeness really well. So it's harder when characters are distant from that person for me to like feel like I'm reaching in there. But I suppose just through like visualization techniques or like that meditation like process, because some of the method acting exercises are like that, like it's all just like this visualization to like bring up emotions and scenes and feelings and that kind of thing. If I can try to put myself in that person's like shoes and imagine maybe what they would want, or like having those juxtaposing things, that I can successfully maybe like reach to that like those like less obvious characters. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah. And especially the like transporting yourself into something else where you might have to like substitute specifics that you could relate to maybe instead of like how would I feel? It's like you're moving outside of yourself into another person, but
Yeah.
you can take like I think even with maybe the hardest to understand shit about why somebody would behave in this way, if you could like substitute that for something you feel strongly about and just relate that, it's like I would never do this, but how do I get in this person's head? Is like substitute their obsession with killing people with your love for your child or something.
Yeah, no, 100%. It is like that, because it's like I always it because the reason why I love fiction is it feels like truth and lying at the same time. And so there's this sense of like, well, I know what it feels like to feel pain or like feel loss, right? Like I can think about loss all day and like delve into like the little details. And so if you can take that kind of pain, like those details, and then like attach it to like a concept or something that may not be related to you, is like that's how you remove that block of being like, well, I would never do that, so how would I think of something, you know what I mean? Like how would I think of like Like, let's say we're talking about serial killers, like a serial killer who, like, let's say he can't go kill someone, or he like misses an opportunity, right? Or it's like, well, I would never be sad about something like that because I would never kill somebody. But like, how would I take that? Well, I take that fundamental, like, that there's a foundation of loss. So I can take those things, yeah. And then I can like attach it to this concept. And once I have that, then I can kind of sit there and I just imagine, like, I just literally sit and like we'll spend that time thinking or visualizing like what those things would look like or feel like. And then sometimes it's like, you know, when you get into that flow state, when you end up writing like a bunch of words and you're just like, oh shit, the scene is just going here now, you know, then I can kind of get into that flow state and it kind of takes its own way. But that's usually how I get through that block, you know, because like it's the whole Buddhism thing. Like at the root, everybody suffers, and that's very simple and easy, but at the same time, it can be really complex and like detailed. Like there's lots of texture to suffering because it's human life and experience. And so
Yeah.
ripe for exploring.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, I
yeah.
mean, I related a lot to Daisy in a lot of different ways, just because no, like in that way, it's not real specific. Like, oh yeah, I relate to not being able to get pregnant. Well, I really can't get pregnant. Like, that'll never happen. But just in wanting this thing so badly that
Mm,
even when you get a taste of it, and then you get another taste of it, and then another taste of it, and it just goes to shit. Well, I was like, fuck.
yeah,
Yeah, no, I can. This is the story of my life, girl.
yeah.
Like,
Or like when you're so obsessed with something, it just occupies like your entire waking thoughts, and you're like, why am I thinking about this? And like, why can't I think about something else? But it's just there, and it's you just and you're ruminating, you know, but you know, that's because I relate to that a lot. And it worked with Daisy because obviously like she's obsessed with babies. So
is there a hero to this story?
hmm, that's a good question. Is there a hero? How would you define a hero?
The catalyst for salvation for anybody involved.
Hmm. I guess I would say that Daisy would be, in that definition, I think Daisy would be the hero because ultimately in the book, she is saving herself because, like, through everything that she does, I mean, it's fucked up, but that's why she is driven to do what she does is like the breaking independently away from like the Pentecostal church, right? Of saying like, no, you need everything else outside of you. Like her mother always being like, you need me and like all that kind of thing. Like she kind of finally breaks away to like solve her own problem in this really big and scary way that she probably would not have comprehended herself of being capable because of her fear of like Sloane and her fear of like daddy. Like she gets so transformed through that novel of like, well, people think that I'm this way, you know, but like later on, you know, there's like the scene like with the cat where she's like, oh my god, I'm actually stronger in this way than daddy is. There's like this really
Yeah. Oh
transformational
shit.
process for
When he passes out. Yeah.
yeah. And so that's like her way of like saving herself is how she's finding her salvation.
I dig that. I dig that.
Mhm.
And you didn't even look for like sort of a literal here. Like, is there a good guy? It's like I like that interpretation because it's still there's not really any good guys in this story necessarily. But I don't know, especially in 2023 when bread costs $10. I don't know how, like what good and bad means anymore.
Does bread really cost $10 over there? Are the eggs crazy expensive too? Is that like a thing?
Yes, they're getting crazy. Like that shit used to be like 99 cents. Like, you know how many chickens there are that you can just get eggs from? Why is that shit so expensive? I don't get it.
Most things are not so ridiculously priced that you'd notice them. But I
Mhm.
notice because I'm very cheap.
Mhm.
So I basically, it seems like every time you check out at Walmart or wherever, Target, um, you're estimating in your head what everything's going to cost. And the cost is always like $25 more than you thought. So you're
Mhm.
always doing this double take to the cart, and you'll see the price on the screen. It'll be like $60, and you'll look down and you have 9 or 10 items, and you think to yourself, like, well, what did I buy that costs $60? That's been
Mhm.
my experience anyway. And then it's all it's all these little things like gas costing, what's 3.29 right now, but it's been up to like 3.79. And so you're just I'm just broker than I've ever been in my life, which is funny
Mhm.
because I'm making more money than I've ever made in my
Mhm.
life. But it just feels like I don't know. It feels like everything's gonna reach a boiling point at some point, because if I'm struggling, that means a lot of people are doing a lot worse. Like, I don't know how people are doing it if they have 3 or 4 kids and working 2 jobs at different fast food restaurants or whatever. It
Mhm.
seems impossible. It just seems
Yeah.
impossible. Like, I
Yeah.
don't know. And I know that food stamps exist and all that kind of stuff. So maybe that's it. But it just
That's a full-time
it
job
feels
to get on that to get on that shit though.
exactly. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, exactly. Like those people are not, they're not having an easier time of
Yeah.
anything. But yeah. So I mean, yeah, bread is probably like 3.50 right now, which is
Dang.
too expensive for bread. Should be like
Mhm.
$1.50. But
Mhm.
yeah, it just all adds up slowly. You want to hear more about money problems? Because I can go on.
Well, it kind of relates to like delivery, because it's like
Mhm.
there's this intersection of society where there's a lack of social services, and there's poverty, and those things create crime.
Mhm.
Whether that's through crime of like mentally unwell, or crime that's because you just need to survive, and like all that kind of stuff too. Like, it's hard. It's an anti-social society. Like, the society is not conducive of supporting people the way that they need to, and people as a result are becoming like they're falling into it, like people are just being less nice, like they just don't have time for people's shit anymore.
Yeah.
Like, how many viral videos do we see of like someone freaking out on a plane about a baby or something like that, when you're like, it's just a fucking baby, man. Like, you're all like in a bus in the sky, and like it's also like, what's crazy to me is that like, don't the like what are they called? Don't like the stewardesses or something like that have the power of like the federal government because of the TSA and all the stuff? Like, I would never pop off to like, I don't know, as like a flight attendant on a plane, because they could just have me arrested and then I could go to federal prison. Like, that's like federal prison, like.
Did y'all
I
see
would
that person
I would
who
try
had like
not to
crazy
at least.
diarrhea? See that person who had crazy diarrhea on the plane
Oh yeah,
Oh
the
in
no.
diarrhea
Atlanta?
plane.
Yeah, the
Oh no.
diarrhea plane was rough. Yeah, somebody had diarrhea and I guess
I don't know how it
like
got all over the plane.
it tried to run down the aisle or something. And so there's
No.
just like this Resident Evil blood trail of diarrhea down this
Oh my
plane.
god.
So people are also,
Oh.
yeah, people have no time for anybody else's shit, and they're also, having diarrhea all over planes. It's a mess. You judge
Oh.
the health of it. If you judge the health of a society by how well they're able to deal with their diarrhea, we are not doing very well in that respect.
No. Yeah.
I'm
Yeah,
glad you
no, it's
reminded me about the stewardesses though, because I've been snapping at people and I will be going on a plane soon.
Yeah.
So I'll remember not here
Be
because
nice.
save it save it for when we land.
Yeah.
Brian Allen Carr taught me this for school, because when I was about to start teaching school, he had done the same thing. He'd been a high school English teacher,
Mhm.
and he texted me soft eyes, keep soft eyes, and I looked it up, and it's a real thing where you like unfocus from people and you kind of take it in, like you look at people in like widescreen mode. You're sort of taking in all the surroundings, and it works in terms of being in front of 150 16-year-olds every day. But it also, I think, does something to like your mental state where when you look at things widescreen, it's almost like you go back further into your brain and you're able to like he told me soft eyes, he said, and never respond quickly to anything. Like take your time. And those are two really good bits of advice, I think, just for life. Just like don't respond immediately to anybody. Like if somebody comes up to you and they're like, what the fuck is your problem? Just don't say anything for a second, because you have to actually take a moment so that you're not popping off back at them and saying like, what are you talking to me like that for? And then it just escalates, right? So soft eyes. This is for you, Kelby, on the plane. Just soft eyes and just don't respond.
Well, it's just for me in general. Yeah, I've been escalating everything. That's been the word of the week over here. It's like, why are you escalating shit? I'm like, I'm not trying to, you know. I related to the daddy character a whole lot. I'll just say that besides the bug shit, I don't
Not the bug
that's
stuff.
yeah, that's not my thing. But yeah, all the other shit, I was like, he's so me for real, for better or worse. Like, you know, this is just like, yep, feel you, bro.
The hustling element, his like exotic insect adventure on that
Which
side.
I
Yeah.
also thought that was because he is a drug dealer, or he had been a drug dealer. So I thought at first that was another maybe Dee Dee's not even an unreliable narrator, but there's so many things where you start thinking, is she retarded? And he's like is he's selling drugs, but then it's like, no, he's selling exotic bugs. It's like, oh. And then I didn't even realize that was such an illegal thing. It's like, do you realize this is federal level smuggling? I was like, oh shit.
I know. It is kind of funny though that there are laws for like, yeah, the exotic insect trade. You go to jail for like 25 years or something. I don't know if that's actually true. But
Probably.
then, yeah. But then, yeah, I don't know. The American justice system is punitive and flawed.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say perfect when I heard the P coming out. I was
No,
like, yeah, we
no,
can go with that.
no.
What are you to give my final thoughts on it? I think that you are an incredible writer, sentence for sentence. I think that Deliver Me is your best book. I think it's gonna do great. I hope it does great.
Let's all
And
let's
I
all
just
believe it will, and then it will.
yeah, I'll put
Yeah.
it into my liquid luck and
Okay.
swirl that around. Just a picture of the book. But I think you did just a really good job on this book. And it's cool to see. It's cool to see something that is like this one. And I liked Kazemi's book too. But and they're
I haven't
both
read it yet.
really kind of it's good. It's especially if you're our age and you were that age then, which is funny because he's not. So he was kind of like writing historical fiction. But
That's
it's
hilarious. Historical
it
fiction
is,
about
yeah,
the
he's writing
90s.
historical fiction of like being a teenager in 1999, and he got it pretty right. But you know, the kind of darkness and like these weird goopy just like goopy is the word for me for this book. It feels very tactile, like things are rotting and decaying and are slimy and mucusy. It's cool to see books like that coming out, and people seem to be responding really well to it. So just wanted to say that. It's
Thank
good stuff.
you. Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate that. I'm hopeful. We'll see what happens. I don't want to like put too much pressure on the book's success, but I also do. Very,
You wanted to,
very
you wanted
annoying.
to, you wanted to pop
Yeah.
off. You wanted to pop
Yeah.
for sure. Yeah.
No,
And you
yeah,
should.
yeah.
I mean, you put in the work. It's a great book, so you should want
Yeah.
that. What are you gonna do next?
So I'm actually starting a doctorate program when I get back from book tour. So I'll be going to the States at the end of September until the 13th of October to do like book tour stuff, and then I'll come back. And so for that, I do have an idea that I'm working on. I'm afraid if I talk about it, I'll lose like my excitement for it.
Yeah,
So I won't talk about it. but then I'm also working on this kind of like weird manuscript about like scorned lovers and thinking a lot about like napalm and stuff. And so whatever that will be, I think I want to like serialize it on Patreon as like an actual chapbook series that like I send to
Yeah.
people.
Yeah.
Oh shit.
Yeah, I think I want to try that and like see if people like respond to that. So hopefully that'll be like novella length maybe. I don't know how long it'll be. I guess it just depends on like how I feel. Some days I like really write into it and I'm like, this is amazing. And then some days I'm like, I cannot think about this for 3 weeks, which is annoying because I just want the first draft to be done.
I
That's
was
what's
so
tough
annoyed with
about
myself
serializing
yesterday.
shit too.
Yeah. Yeah. No, go ahead. Go ahead. My bad.
No, like committing to the thing because we were doing on the Agitator Patreon, we've treated it like an experiment. It's like whatever really catches, it's like, okay, we'll lean into that. We'll keep doing that. And some things, if we're doing a lot of work on it and people don't really comment one way or the other, we're just kind of like, yeah, I'm gonna pump the brakes on this a little bit. This is a lot of work for shit, and I don't know if people even care. But yeah, we were doing a weekly serialized novels for a while, and it is fun. It's like a great writing experiment, and it's shit that I like. I'll get back to. I know David's working on what he was doing in a different way now, but um, it's a commitment. It's like, oh, I gotta keep doing this thing.
What were you gonna say?
Oh, just when you were talking about being frustrated with yourself, that was me
Mhm.
yesterday. I was so mad, like violently angry, not at
Mhm.
anybody, but just at myself because I had free time, but I was tired, right? And
Yeah.
so I sat there and I got out my fucking stupid index cards because I was like, some people do it this way. They have the 60 index cards and they make 60 scenes, and maybe this will work. And nothing was coming out. And I was just, dude, the shit that I said to my, like the words that I called myself, it was just like, and I was alone. I had total free time. I was completely sober. Like I had, like that was the time to do it. And I just didn't do it. And I was so mad. And I'm
Mhm.
at I'm at that point in my life now where I'm like, what? I was like, dude, then when are you gonna do it?
Mhm.
When? Like, what else
Mhm.
do you need? Nobody was here. The house is silent. You have all the ideas that you've been thinking about in the shower, like now's
Yeah.
your time to put them. And I just didn't do it. And I was like, I'm gonna fucking kill you. Like I didn't want to kill myself. I wanted to kill me.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
there's
yeah.
like a subtle
You're trying to
difference.
threaten yourself into work. Yeah,
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 I'm gonna fucking kill you. I'm gonna
yeah.
throw myself headfirst off the roof.
That's so
Um,
funny.
but yeah, no, it's just, and I don't know what the answer for that is really because I was so deep into it. We've all been there, like Googling how to beat writer's block. It's all bullshit. It's like, just don't have it. And I'm like, all right, cool. Yeah, I'll work on that.
Mhm.
That's what I'm trying
Mhm.
to figure out right now. That's where I saw the stupid 60 index cards thing. I keep going back to how Otessa Moshfegh wrote Eileen through
Mhm.
the 90-day novel. I have that book.
Mhm.
Um, and I just keep looking at it and I'm like, a part of me starts to think, are you just not supposed to do this? Is that why there's all this like psychic weight against it happening? Like, are you not supposed to do it? Um,
What are you
so I
working
don't know.
on? Is it like a
Well,
book?
I finished a book and it's sitting because I'm also grumpy about not selling as much as I want to. So I'm not going to release that book until I actually have like a budget in place to kind of
Mhm.
do ads and things like that. Because I'm not sending another book out into the ether that nobody knows about and then just crossing my fingers and hoping for the best.
Mhm.
So I was starting a new thing and yeah, it's the same old starting a new book blues. Um,
It always makes you
and
feel like a beginner every time, right?
mhm,
Mhm.
which is frustrating when you're 36 years old
Mhm.
and your first book came out when you were 23 and
Mhm.
you've written 5 novellas in 13 years, you're like, I suck, dude. Like, what am I
Well,
doing? I need
something
to
closer to
put out more
like
shit.
10, but
Is it closer to 10?
I've got a
Oh,
shelf that's like all you, dog.
yeah.
It's a lot of
Maybe
books.
It's a
I
lot
need
of
to
books.
stop being so mean to myself. But no, I idolize, sorry for rambling by the way, but I
Yeah.
idolize a lot of like the kind of pulp writers. Like I think Philip K. Dick was really cool, although he was on speed. Um, just
It
people who are
helps.
able to,
Yeah,
yeah,
that
to be
helps. You should do
workmanlike.
that.
And yeah, I should pick that habit up.
You should
But people
smoke
who are,
meth.
I should. There's plenty of it around. I don't know. I think that people who are able to sit down and be disciplined and cool about stuff. I like the idea of discipline. I'm a very undisciplined person, but I like the idea.
Mhm.
And I just get frustrated with how, scatterbrained I am. And I'm like, I'll just sit myself down and say, like, do you want to, is this what you want? Right? Because you're not acting like it. Like if you really wanted it, you'd be doing more. And
Hmm.
I don't know. I just I get angry.
Yeah, you just have to stop focusing on the outcome. That's what usually
Yeah.
causes me the most frustration is that I'm thinking about the novel, as the finished product and like what I want it to be and how far away that is for me. If I stop thinking about that, then it helps me just do any like well I can, because then I can like also like I'll just do anything. I was telling Kelby that like when I wrote the first draft of Deliver Me, I actually did a 90-day novel process. Like I read 90-day novel and I like the concept, but I don't like how he makes you do all these fucking prompts every day and like all this stuff. Like I don't think that's ideal. But what I did was I spent like 2 weeks planning the plot on this big piece of butcher paper. And so I knew like where I was gonna go. So then when I sat down to actually do the writing part, I could just be like, okay, today we're just going from point A to point B. Like it was kind of that easy when I didn't know what I was doing next. And I just like let it be bad. And that really helps too. Of just
Yeah.
like just accepting that like it'll probably be bad and it's like fine. But it's that outcome piece that I find is always really hard for me. Cause I definitely like for a while this year because I was working so much and I was like so tired. Like it was just a lot. Like I hadn't written anything regular in like a year and a half. And I was like, maybe there's just like nothing left. Like I have my
That's
projects
where
I
I
want to
am right
do.
now. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, but I was like, maybe there's just like nothing like left here, but that I think probably has to do, yeah, with just the quality of like your brain not being able to like rest and like all the stuff, because now that I'm not, it's only been like 3 or 4 weeks since I haven't been working full time. I'm back to like freelancing and stuff, and even my sleep is just better. Like I can actually wake up earlier, like now than I could because I was doing my like 40-hour a week 9 to 5 job and like commuting and doing the school runs and like all of that stuff. It's just easier. I don't know. And I feel like I've had the spark like kind of come back a little bit. Not as much as I want, but it's fine. I'll work
Be
my
so
way
sick.
into it. Yeah.
It'd be so sick if they could actually um just like pay us to be creative. Wouldn't that be, I'm
I
talking fantasy
know.
world, right? Fantasy
Yeah.
world. Like if you prove it, like if they say write something, write 500 words of something, it's totally blind. They don't get to see what you look like or what your class or status or anything is, right? Write 500 words. And if it bangs, then you get a stipend every month to just do that. That'd be so
Hmm.
sick. Fantasy
Yeah.
world stuff, but
Yeah.
whatever.
I know. I know. There's so much funding out here though, dude. It's crazy. Like, I got a stipend to help pay for my book tour to the US um from Publishing Scotland, which is like a nonprofit that like funds the arts here. Everybody pays for readings. Like if you're a bookstore, like or a
Mhm.
publisher, like they pay you for a reading or they pay you for like a festival event or something like that. Like you actually get paid to do a reading or you get paid to like chair a reading, like if you're the host. My UK publisher is doing some like book blogger event in November and they paid for my hotel and my train ticket like down there, and I'm getting paid for the reading. I got commissioned for a poem that I get to read at an event like in November, and I'm getting paid like 200 quid or something like that, or like 250 quid or something, just to read like a couple poems. Like, isn't that
Yeah,
crazy?
yeah.
Like,
That was my
there's funding out
experience.
here.
Yeah. Yeah. When I had a French publisher for my second book, it was like night and day. I was working at a checkout in Safeway, and they gave me 4,000 euros for the book, which was tight. And then they paid for me to fly to France
That's
and stay
amazing.
in a hotel. And I had like a stipend while I was there. And then I came back to America, and I was back to like checking out people's groceries. And I was like, I had had that little taste. I was like, life could be beautiful. It could be so wonderful.
I know.
Uh,
I know.
but yeah.
It's so, yeah, it's hard. But I would say too, like with the writing stuff in terms of like the discipline, it's maybe to like find the part of the day where your brain is working its best around your work schedule. Like I
Mhm.
always, for a while when I was parenting alone, I know it's like crazy, but I would wake up at like 4 and I would just write for like an hour. Like I just needed an hour, you know? And then I could start the rest of my day or like whatever it was. And it, even though I wasn't really producing like a lot of work, I was still, or if I was like editing stuff for like freelance or whatever, it was just something that was outside of like my day job. It still mentally made me feel better, which I think helps with the constriction that you're feeling, you know, like with the writer's block. Because at least you'll be like, well, at least I did fucking something, you
Mhm.
know, before I have to
Mhm.
go like teach a bunch of students and then get tired at the end of the day.
Teach a bunch of kids who are staring at their phones about the Crucible. Like, who
Yeah.
wants to learn about the Crucible? This
Yeah.
book is awesome. No, they're
Yeah.
cool. They're cool. The kids are surprisingly cool. It's a really neat job, but it's also, yeah, it's super draining. They said like they asked me, "Do you want to be the assistant girls soccer coach?" And I said, "No. No. Like what when
Hmm.
am I going to do that?
Hmm.
Like I already don't have time. Like I'm going to have less time." And they said, "But there's a stipend attached." And I'm like, "I'm sure it's awesome. I'm sure the stipend is great. I'm sure it's like, like 3 grand for the year or something like that. Like, no,
Hmm.
I'm good." So yeah, it's just busy. Um, well, this has been the David complains about stuff show.
It's been good. It's been
Yeah,
good.
it's
Someone's
it's
gonna
been
learn
good.
about how to break their writer's block from this, I bet.
Absolutely. I think
Maybe.
so.
My
Thank you for
personal
coming
little
on.
quick hack, I don't
Hmm.
listen to myself all the time, but my personal little quick hack, and it does work every time when I do listen to myself, is stepping outside. It's just like this
Mm.
with like when going into that sunlight and maybe walking the block or something, but it's like instant. It's like, oh shit. Because I'll tell myself, I'm like, I've been stuck for hours, like, or I haven't written all week. Like that, it's not that simple. That's stupid. And then I do it, and then it comes rushing in. So
Mhm. Yeah,
maybe.
walking helps too. Maybe it's the stillness. Like if you're just like still and letting your mind be a little bored instead of like threatening to throw yourself off the roof.
Yeah.
It'll
Yeah,
the
it's
stillness
probably
will
not
like
helpful.
help a little bit.
Yeah, if you actually walk away, you walk away from, and then the muse is like, no, come back, come back. Where are you going?
Yeah.
Come
Ria's
on.
gonna walk in and I'm just slamming my head in the bathroom door over and over again. She's
Hmm.
like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm gonna make myself right. I'm gonna
Yeah.
force myself to write." It's like, no, I don't think that's how it works. I think you're
Yeah.
scaring it away. All
Well,
right.
our listener base does everything we say, so everyone go by Deliver Me. Um, where should people keep up with you? Pitch your Patreon and all that
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah. So I'm on Twitter at sad erotica and also Instagram at sad erotica. And then on patreon.com/sad erotica.
That's
So
actually
all of
what
it.
I'm wearing my perfect blue agitator shirt, and the kanji on this shirt is sad erotica
Oh,
because it's
that's
from our
awesome.
episode that we did.
I love that. Um, I'm gonna watch like all the Miike I can and then a bunch of Japanese horror, I think, for like the next couple months. Because I've just been like, I don't know, I'm just into it. I don't know why. I'm just thinking a lot more about film lately. Like, especially horror. I don't know, horror is just like one of the best genres.
We should all make movies. That's what I
Yeah.
think. I think we should all make movies. I think that Kelby and I have been talking about it a lot, and we've got some plans to turn his Mercy into like an ultra low budget with like the like
Mm,
using Unreal 5 graphics, you know, to like do some of the monsters and stuff. Just like
mm.
totally leaning into not having any money and making it kind of look like Xavier Renegade Angel or something like that. But I think movies from us and from other people who are kind of in the same uh, kind of zone as we are. I think that's the move for sure. Like
Mhm.
ultra, like $10,000. Like, what can you do? You know,
Yeah.
I think we can make some cool shit.
Yeah, I think so. I'm working actually on a screenplay based on one of Chris Kelso's stories, and we're gonna like hammer it out. I don't know. We'll see what happens. But
Oh
That's gonna
yeah.
be so tight.
you should watch The Outwaters. That was done on a budget of 15K, and it's fucking incredible. It's like one of the
What's it
best horror
called?
movies I've seen. It's called The Outwaters. It's like one of the best horror movies, especially like one of the best, the probably the best found footage film, but one of the best horror movies that like I have seen in the last like, I don't know, 5 years, 10 years. It's so good. Um, I won't tell you why it's good, so you can watch it. But
I want to go in blind. I'm gonna go in blind to
yeah,
this.
that's how I
I mean,
went.
it
That's
look
how I went. It got so many bad reviews, and that's what made me curious about it. So I was like, I didn't want to look at the reviews, just go in and watch it and then tell me what you think.
I will. Yeah, no, this looks really cool. And that's the thing too. Even from just the screenshots that I see, it looks good because we can all afford, like I have a Blackmagic camera right now, you know?
Mhm.
So all I would need was a sound guy and actors and, you know, a little bit of money to,
Mhm.
or you could
Agreed.
just do it, you know, Tsukamoto style and pay nobody and just be like,
Just
whatever.
have, just be willing to burn some bridges, ruin some
Yeah.
friendship.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Everybody who's ever worked with Tsukamoto, especially back in those days, like the Tetsuo people, like they all hate his guts because
Oh
they were like,
no.
that was the worst year of my life. Because he didn't pay anybody and he was like a real asshole, I guess. But he
Mhm.
made Tetsuo out of it. So
Makes great
give and take. Yeah. Hmm.
Worth it. Worth
Worth
it.
it. Hmm. All right, cool.
All
Well,
right.
thank you.
Thank you. This has been good. But yeah, thanks for having me on, and buy my book, please. And leave
Yes,
me a good review.
absolutely.